have not had the best start. In fact, they really have not started, Vinny. They've really struggled out of the gates.
They haven't. We were looking at the stats pre-match. I know I'm not really the stats man. I'm going to leave most of that to Dev. But for right now, they were 4-21 in attacking rounds so far this stage, which is it's not going to win you games. It's not. We saw last night they got OT defense on Nighthaven, and of course, because they are unable to win attacks, they weren't able to win either of those OT rounds, so they ended up losing the match. And those matches are really important for them. We've been talking a lot about the confidence coming into playoffs and playing against teams like Circular Spheres and teams like that. Like, they need to be able to get these points. So really struggling. Obviously, I think the big talking point so far for us has been Killer Man.
Yeah,
he's been struggling a lot on the entry. I don't remember the exact stat, but
yesterday it was 0-8, I believe.
Yeah, so that was that
it's a bit outdated.
Yes, it's actually outdated by one play day. So
it's even worse. It's a lot worse. Yeah.
Do you have the actual stat?
I'm currently resyncing my database.
It's okay. I have it because I wrote it down yesterday.
Thank you, bro.
Only 5 successful attempts out of 18 engagements.
Bang.
That is...
And to nail it as well, like, Sage is the only player who has a positive KD, and he's the only... Actually, I think he still had a negative KD, but he's the only player that has a positive EPS above 100. Yep. And he's still getting target banned every game. Like, yesterday we saw the Goyo Finker ban come out for him. Yep. This guy's playing Fuse, not to play Shield, but to play the LMG that he likes on Finker. Like, what is going on there?
I love it. Look, whatever you got to do, you got to do. The worst part about the conversation for Circular Spheres is obviously huge shake-up throughout the break. Not even nearly the same roster. But we were kind of talking about this as we left the studio last night. Doesn't feel like there's a very strong leadership figure there. And it's not, we're not knocking players, but it's very hard to look at that roster like you would say an Antic or a Chiefs or a GG.
Yeah, those teams look like they have that really set leadership structure. I don't think Circular Spheres have shown that. I mean, obviously we've got Physics and Japo who have been around the longest. They were two of the core remaining players from the last stage. But yeah,
20 and 33, man.
Yeah. He is struggling. And honestly, it's going to be players like Killerman now that need to step up to really get some results for the team. Obviously, you were talking about saved. The target ban on Finker reminds me of the old Siege way back. People used to ban IQ.
God, that was so ugly. That was so ugly. And, you know, not to rag on Killerman, but we obviously have seen him at greater heights. So that's why it's always such a stark contrast to what we've seen, which is why we need to talk about it. Speaking of stark contrast, I mean, the last time we saw Bailey in the league, he was the villain of the league, Dev. Outside of Logic, there was no one that had a bigger name that people almost cringed at than Bailey.
Very true.
He's turned this around with a completely new roster for players we've never seen in Tier 1.
Yeah, and players that have really surprised us as well. It's not only Bailey who's starting to redeem himself. Realize and ACOG are actually the 3rd and 4th best players in the league right now, which is unbelievable. Like, at the very top, you got Tuhan, you got Quiz, you got ACOG, and Realize. That is... 2 of those are not like the others. And they both come from this team, of course. Real surprising to see how well these guys have done, because unlike you, Vinny, I didn't watch a lot of that off-season tournament. And funnily enough, the one game that I did tune into was the one where they got 14-0'd by Chiefs. So crazy. I had very low expectations. I thought, okay, these guys can farm in the farmers off-season, but when it comes down to actually playing against big teams and players that I know and respect, like all 5 of these players on Circular Spheres, I expect that they would struggle. But now, like, this is a no-brainer. Everyone is picking OUTLAST for this game.
It's so crazy how quickly those tides have turned as well. Just the tune completely coming in. Like, if you went back and had a look at our power rankings from Playday 1 to now, I don't want to use the word disgusting, but I look at that league and go, wow, I did not expect anywhere near that kind of performance from some of these teams. And I mean that, like, I actually mean that in a negative way, but for such a big positive for OUTLAST. Now, just some context as we go into this one. OUTLAST have played Skyscraper, Consulate, and Clubhouse. We've seen Labs twice from Circular Spheres, and we've also seen a Club. So with Clubhouse being banned out first, I mean, that kind of makes it a little more interesting for me at the very least. And are we going to Skyscraper again for OUTLAST? But this is the first time I'm going to see it in the stage dev for Circular Spheres. You worried?
No, I'm split. Because on the one hand, OUTLAST obviously did play Antic on this map and they won it. That's a huge win. That was really when we got a lot of respect for OUTLAST. Opening play day. On the flip side, Circular Spheres in the Rivals played this map in the semi-finals against 5 Sharp, right? 5 Sharp. So I think, and they lost it. So I feel like Outlast should be doubling down on this map. Like, this is everything pointing towards them. Circular Spheres, yeah, they didn't get the choice of this. It was either this or Bank, but yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to spin something to try and put something on the Circular Spheres side, but I'm actually having to work really hard for it.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think it's quite interesting to pick the map again, especially after losing it in an off-season tournament where obviously they didn't have the best results. Circular Spheres, I'm assuming that they've gone back and watched over that game and probably seen where they can fix things up. Obviously, Outlast already winning Skyscraper this stage as well gives an extra VOD for Circular Spheres. But in saying that, I think Antic are quite a good Skyscraper team, so that result should actually be more scary than just something to watch.
All right. Well, Outlast was humbled yesterday in their game against Odium. Let's hope it doesn't happen again. They're strong at the moment, 9 points on the trot. We actually have a budget increase for tonight, and we've got Michael and Xenox from the Jake and Ghost Show.
Yeah, one day we're going to get a proper throw from you, Rob. One day. Hopefully it's sometime soon. Maybe towards the back end of the stage. But good job on the desk, though, at least talking about this game. It's certainly going to be a good one. Top of the table, Outlast. Looking for their 4th win in a row, Guz. And you are off the Circular Spheres.
I got burnt last night, Jake.
I got
enough.
burnt. 2 from 2 was not.
I was heartbroken. Circular Spheres, what was it, 6-3 up. I called the GG.
You did.
And unfortunately, they went on to lose that game in the 15th round as well. So
They'll probably win now that you've not
they
tipped them.
probably will, which is going to be interesting. Only 8% of the audience believe and have faith in CS this evening. And I think rightly so. That was even before the veto, and I think the desk making some very good points that Outlast here on Skyscraper may be a little bit bolstered, and CS will need to improve upon their previous results. A lot of pressure as well on the likes of Killerman tonight, big talking point last night and in the pre-match for this game. Out of form at the moment, but we know how dangerous he can be.
We have to go all the way back to the opening game of this particular stage for Outlast versus Antic, which was on Skyscraper. Outlast winning that one 7-4, Guz, after winning 5 defensive rounds in a row in the second half to get that win. Never seen before bans as the Blitz and the Montang will be banned out here, you would imagine.
That's why they increased the budget with calls like that, Jake.
Well, the Blitz was already banned out and the Montang's at this point
likely to follow.
The interesting conversation I had with Vinci yesterday, though, is how much it opens up for other operators that, you know, typically in the past we would see get banned out. With the shields now being more predominantly banned, it does kind of open up the floor, at least for other prominent operators.
Yeah, I mean, it means that Dokkaebi can make it through. I know she was nerfed, but I think she's still powerful.
Operators like Ying.
Nook as well as a pocket pick. Ying's certainly strong in the late round. And also in terms of a more specific target ban, Finka will be available for saved. He has been very much quote-unquote crutching, but performing well with the Finka LMG ACOG combo.
Yeah.
And that's certainly something to keep an eye on.
We have seen a bit more fuse play, actually, based off the shield. When we do see bans like this, when the Blitz, the Montang, and now also the Clash are all banned out, you go to who's got a shield that's remaining, and it's the fuse. And we've seen it used actually to some decent success. So Karaoke Tea Room on the defense to begin for Circular Spheres. Winless, Gus. Winless for this roster. I mean, it's honestly quite staggering. I know you obviously picked them twice, but you go back to yesterday, lost that game against Supernova on Nighthaven Labs. Before that, they ended up losing to Antic 7-0, total calamity. And then in the opening play yes, overtime again, but lost to the Chiefs. Is that a saving grace in some ways? They've had 2 overtime. So yes, they're winless, but and it looks really bad up the top of the scoreboard where it says 0-3, but in reality, you actually go to the standings, and despite being winless, they're only 1 point from 4th.
Yeah, certainly true.
2 overtime games,
yeah,
something.
7th looks bad, but in the BO1 format, pushing OT is always a mini win to some extent. And again, last night a great example of a match that really could have gone either way, and certainly probably should have been their win ultimately in the end. But overtimes won't count for anything if they're unable to finish inside of that top 6 and make the playoffs. That's what every single team is fighting for at the moment. And as Rob introed the show, we have now eclipsed the halfway point of the regular stage. Playday 4 of 7 before 3 days of GSL playoffs.
The other saving grace is that it's looking incredibly likely Odium will be featuring one of those two bottom positions. It's just the nature of a team that clearly is not quite at the same level as the direct competitors. So for Circular Spheres, it's a matter of can you get out of that bottom two.
It's going to be a dogfight, though.
Supernova, Prodigy, some degree even Antic, all the other teams on 3 points. You would imagine Gaming Gladiators, Chiefs, and this team as well in Outlast Gaming should be safe from that bottom two. Perilous position, opening kill for Circular Spheres. You'll take that. Ned will lose his life on the Ying. That's certainly going to make entry into sight a little bit more difficult for Outlast now. Not only down a player, but you lose out on the Ying. Over towards Geisha Balcony for Yentire on the Maverick. Double hard breach with Thatcher, Flores for those Roteros. But so far, I do like the lineup being brought here by Circular Spheres.
Reloading.
Outlast chipping away at control over towards Exhibition. They have the cutoffs in play, but the defense has already fallen back, and Japer with double the advantage for the defense. A nice Nitro cell onto Bailey, so hard breach compromised now as well. Relays also falls, and this attack never really got going for Outlast. Circular Spheres on the verge of a flawless opening round. And if they win this match, Jake, and I didn't pick them for once, I tell you what.
Yeah, look, Killerman losing that battle. He's one to keep an eye on in this game. I think going into the second half when entries will be difficult. And the reason why I bring that up is, you know, for Outlast in this round, they struggled on the entry, didn't they? And I think that's going to be the telltale factor in this matchup between these two teams. It's going to be attacking half, who can enter better, who can start to get a bit of that map control, win those contact fights. And, you know, we speak about Circular Spheres a lot as the kind of team that's got the firepower. They're happy to take fights. They like aggression. And when you kind of play Skyscraper, even though it's defend decided and, you know, in nature, it's all about that kind of pure defense, attack, fall back, and kind of give up space as you make contact. I think that suits Circular Spheres a little bit more than other maps where it's more holistically structured. This gives Circular Spheres an opportunity to actually take these earlier fights, then fall back, take the next fight, then fall back. And I think that suits their playstyle a little bit better, provided guys like Killerman can actually win those early battles. But yeah, that was just a non-round, and at no point was Outlast even remotely looking like they were going to do anything. They do hover the fuse, spoke about it, shield play. Offers an exhibition, not an awful sight for fuse. Bring the secondary hard breaches as well. You got Thermite. They'll opt for the Grim though instead of Flores and those Roteros. Similar looking lineup for Circular Spheres. They do drop the cap can. I'll bring in the Legion. It is crazy though how quickly the narrative will change for a team like Circular Spheres if they are able to win a game like this against Outlast, who's top of the table, undefeated. Yeah. Suddenly you get all 3 points, you go to 5 points, and then you find yourself only 4 points behind a team like Outlast, who, by the way, still later on in the stage will have to play the likes of Gaming Gladiators and Chiefs. There's that shield play. I got confused the other day when we were casting. I thought it was a blitz.
Yeah.
It's a similar kind of style. You look away, you come back, and you're like, oh, very similar. But yeah, this could indicate quick entry for Outlast that, you know, Circular Spheres, if they're not prepared for, especially with the triple shield ban. That's the beauty of the fuse here. And I think, yeah, playing off the hard breach opened up immediately. Yentire to try and make swift entry. Relays actually was smoked out. Headshot from Killerman. That's an opening kill on the entry. Big for Killer. 1-0 here on Skyscraper. It is now 2 rounds in a row that Circular Spheres have been able to find the early advantage. To offset that, though, Bailey, headshot physics. Taken down. A little bit of help from the Quan Hive launcher.
Yeah, Diffuser still stranded outside. The 4 versus 4 now in play. Killerman in a strong position to potentially make the play. Bailey goes for the plant. Japer denies, and Neptune as well in on the action. Killerman finally cleans that one up as well, and Neptune concludes the round. Strong defense.
Yeah, really good positioning and repositioning as well. Good smoke usage, denying a lot of vision there for Outlast as they wanted to kind of go quick, hit sight quick, and they just couldn't really see what was going on. Yeah, intriguing round. Outlast obviously trying to play off of that fuse shield, but I don't really think we saw the fuse shield have any kind of impact that would suggest it was really worth bringing in that round. I mean, typically with the the fused shield, you kind of want to emulate the blitz as much as possible. That kind of sprint gameplay, run at them, try and get some melee kills, but it wasn't successful. They lost one very early. Good opening kill for Killerman. Great for the internal confidence as well, both individually and as a team for Circular Spheres to begin this way. But it is Skyscraper defense, and you know, similar in nature to like a team starting well defensively on Labs.
Yeah.
You got to kind of just take it with a grain of salt.
Everybody, which the tertiary side is the make or break here for both teams. I wouldn't be shocked if they have teething issues on the attack for the two primaries. That can be the case on a map like Skyscraper, especially with double shield ban. It can make it quite a slog on the attacking half here. So if Outlast,
well,
it's
even
just
triple shield
chipping away.
ban, if you think about the Clash being denied as well, I mean, at the hands of Circular Sphere, sure, but when Outlast go into the defense later on, Clash is so good at just being able to deny that entry position on a map where it's already quite difficult to entry. You think top Black Stairs, for example, that Clash can just be an absolute nuisance. It's really good at denying space, denying area. Not going to be there to lean on in the second half. But you're right, this tertiary site's going to be so important over to Barbecue, and suddenly now for Outlast, the pressure certainly on them for the first time in this particular half. Must win the tertiary, must get on the board. Otherwise, Circular Spheres can make it 3-0, go around the world, and I think promptly would force a tactical timeout from Outlast.
Triple Nitro lineup for Circular Spheres this round on defense. No IQ to directly counter the Valkyrie here from Outlast. So Circular Spheres from below may be able to contest vertical pressure, but they do have manpower up above currently. Double Geesh stack, Physics and Killerman.
Yeah, I mean, double actually towards Karaoke. So trying to get aggressive here, Circular Spheres, deny as much space towards that entry point.
Oh, Physics is really aggressive here.
Yeah, this is, I think he wants to try and maybe get to the side of ACOG here, if possible, who thinks he's then safe behind that Talon shield, but ACOG actually just rotates out, sticks the shield, and then decides to vacate the area. 90 seconds left in the round, by the way, and it's Ned who will play behind it. These players do know the angles if...
Do they know Physics is there? I mean, if he gets droned, it's a certain death.
Well, Physics as well has the option of also pre-firing through the softball and trying to get that lined up so that it hits the side of that shield and gets a free kill. But you're right, if they don't know of his presence on the right side of Karaoke, could go undroned, unnoticed, in towards Pantry. Saved. Doesn't spot much. In fact, it's spotted the other way. ACOG will spot him inside of Pantry. Drop, trying to just get a little bit more presence onto site. Ned doing well, though, to deny a lot of the movement up above, just controlling this hallway.
Yeah, and Relay's on the Karaoke Rappel as well, holding this cross, and that is facilitating the plant. At least it did initially. Denied, though. Physics is still inside of Karaoke, has not been properly cleared by the attack.
Still not cleared. Just going for the replant. Tries to open up the floorboard with the shotgun. That
Oh, no.
Nitrocell's not going to go down. He died anyway. Oh, Japer, though. His Nitrocell is good. The plant still not down. Neptune with a big kill over towards Sushi. Kid in the hands of Ned, inside of Barbecue, relays towards Kitchen, so no top floor presence now for Outlast. With 15 seconds left, they do have the advantage in terms of numbers. In terms of time, though, not a lot remaining, as Neptune can start to make his move. We saw a yellow ping, the timing here, watching that doorway position as Ned will get the plant down successfully. It now becomes a more difficult prospect for Neptune, but he hits the headshot onto Relays, and suddenly that difficult prospect becomes a little bit more possible.
Talon shot up above. Well positioned by Ned in the 1 versus 1. Neptune does not have a read on this position.
Yeah, I'm seeing double right now in terms of Neptune cameras. Over towards Black Stairs, outside, not spotted, not moving. Swing to calm, it's decent, it's great from Neptune. He will clutch up this round. Circular Spheres will make it 3 straight round wins in a row to kickstart this map of Skyscraper, and that tactical timeout has been called immediately.
That's some really good problem solving there from Neptune. Really good problem solving. Had a phenomenal read up above. Sensed that Ned was outside and able to land the swing. It was a pretty volatile round there for the defense. You think back to the hold inside of Karaoke, the double cross being held by the attack. The fact that this was initially denied was a big oversight by the attack.
There's a 4v2.
Eventually they did clean it up. but then a couple of ill-advised swings made it hard. Those players in the post got caught, and information being fed there onto relays.
Relays doesn't do anything wrong there, by the way, because he's just sitting behind a wall, not moving, not
He's just getting
swinging,
yellow
and he's
pinged.
just getting yellow pinged. He has no idea.
Big for CS, though.
Yeah, it's honestly been a much improved performance. Again, that grain of salt does get a little bit bigger. Of course, having won now the tertiary site, you go 3-0 up. You get to go back around the world and forcing their time out now for Outlast. And, you know, dare I say, for Outlast Gaming, is this not just maybe the first time in this stage where they've really been put under the pump? Shaw started a little bit slow against Antic and bringing back that game in particular because it was on Skyscraper. They only got 2 attacking rounds. I say only, but right now they haven't got any. Now, mind you, they did then go and win 5 defensive rounds in a row, so they do have that capability. So even 1 attacking round for Outlast could be enough to then force OT later on. We also know for Circular Spheres that as of yesterday choked the lead, got off to a great start, had a very good defensive half. They got 4 defensive rounds on Labs, and then ultimately they couldn't get the job done. Even going up 6-3, they still fell short of the mark. So both teams have kind of had storylines that are polar opposite throughout the first 3 play days thus far, coming into the 4th. That in some ways what we're seeing right now isn't too far from the course, that we shouldn't be too overwhelmingly surprised.
Yeah, the dynamic of this matchup is significantly different to the Outlast v Antic face-off. As you mentioned, Outlast won 2 attacks in that first half, but those came in rounds 2 and 3. So that first initial rotation was far more successful for them. This time around, clearly unsuccessful. And off the back of that tactical timeout, we'll now see if they can clean things up on the second rotation, the second attempt here from Circular Spheres.
Well, right now for Outlast, the only way you get to 2 rounds is you win a primary. Right? Yeah, that's just simple math. So you can get 1 on the tertiary if things don't go well in the 4th and 5th round. But otherwise, and you know, the likelihood as well is it might actually now have to be 2 on primaries if you're gonna make it happen. Because if you win a primary here, then suddenly it's 2 primaries that are essentially going to be remaining for 5 and 6. Killerman, opening kill again, 2 from 0. Trade is very quick though. The down on to Killerman successful. ACOG should be aware of that. I'm pretty certain he saw him in the window, but not much he can do about it. Doesn't want to overextend, and well, Killerman's able to actually just crawl his way back in towards Drum. Still not a perfectly safe. I think he wanted to wait for the cross, and well, he couldn't punish it, and that will be a revive onto Killerman. So no trade comes through. It's a successful entry or opening kill for Killerman, who now goes 2 and 0. The spotlight was firmly put on him coming into today. So far, he has been able to do an incredible job for Circular Spheres on the defense.
Yeah, Neptune as well off the back of that prior clutch, 6 and 0 heading into the 4th round. So standout performance from him as well, by far and away the top rated in the lobby currently and on the Malusi here for the 4th round. So Outlast again at the disadvantage. They need to win 1 of these primary sites in order to remain competitive in this match, and ACOG does fight back. Killman finally in the grave, confirmed. But only a minute on the clock now as they wrangle for more map control.
Yeah, and they haven't got any. Everyone's on the exterior. Everyone's out on balconies. Everyone's out on rappel. So, I mean, it's a difficult site to actually get that map control in terms of T-Room and karaoke. Sure, you can just kind of play outside the exterior and play this balcony position for a little while, but, you know, certainly getting some hallway or black stairs control, so pivotal. Double kill for CS as they do lose a life, though, to a Claymore. Yentai needed that one, but Ned falls, stop black stairs, and now suddenly the 1v3 for Yentai, who still finds himself outside. Just lack of control really inside of the map for Outlast Gaming has cost them in this 4th round. No drum side pressure, no first floor pressure. Certainly no on-site pressure for that matter. 15 seconds remaining. Falcon canister will blow up. That's the round, guys. It'll be 4-0.
10 seconds remaining.
Yeah, I think the way Outlast are playing at the moment, it was difficult to foresee success on this particular site. Office now their last remaining opportunity to win a primary and again remain competitive in this matchup. 2 likely the minimum required. Funnily enough, 2 more opportunities to achieve that feat. It's been clean from Circular Spheres though tonight. A far cry from some of their other defensive efforts throughout this particular stage. Cast our minds back only to Monday, where they actually were 7-0'd and they're not playing like that so far tonight.
Yeah, and I guess you should probably add that if CS had lost this game, it would have been a really difficult prospect to see them getting out of the bottom two. Sure, they still play teams like Prodigy and a couple others around them on the table, but it would have been far more difficult. This win, though, if they can confirm it from here, I know it's after yesterday. I don't know if I can trust them wholeheartedly, but
I don't.
it would be so big for them. Goes to 5 points, would put them immediately into 4th. It would put a dent into the campaign of OUTLAST and, you know, their hopes of a top 3 finish. 0-4 for Ned, 1-4 for Bailey. They just can't get into the game. Ned now finds himself onto the Deimos to maybe try and help find more information that they can play off of in these rounds. Credit to Circular Spheres, though. They haven't overstepped the mark. They're playing a pretty decent game of Siege here. They're not making any mistakes. They're certainly not getting too overzealous on the, you know, aggressive denial of entries. Sure, Killerman does get one on the jump out, but then immediately vaults back in. It's calculated. It's measured. He's 2-0 now in that department for this match. And certainly the most impressive performance we've seen from Circular Spheres thus far in the stage. But it is Skyscraper defense. It is possible for OUTLAST to win the next 2, and it ends up being a decent half in the end, despite everything. It could flip that quickly. But who's going to be the one for OUTLAST to open up one of these rounds? It's not Bailey. 1-5, and Bailey's had an absolute stinker. Relay's also losing his life. Both hard breaches in the bin, only the Maverick remaining. There's the Deimos, a little too late to the party despite 2 minutes on the clock. This round is just about over. Saved gets another one. Ned stays scoreless. Lovely headshot down the hallway. 3 in the round for Saved. And even with 2 minutes still remaining, it's done. It's 5-0. Let's skip forward to the next one, shall we?
Jeez. Untamed aggression around the map there from Circular Spheres, winning every single one of those entry duels, and it's been one of their strengths throughout this particular half, and equally a weakness of OUTLAST, getting map presence, map control, map pressure. A lot of these fights have been on the fringe, and they just haven't excelled in that rappel game and exterior breach play. Hasn't worked out for them tonight. If there is any map in the pool, and this is just intense copium at this point, if there's any map in the pool, this is where you can make a 1-5 comeback, but it's an absolute must-win round at this point. And still, the way that Circular Spheres are playing at the moment and the sharpness inside of the server and the big discrepancy between the two, it's still an incredibly challenging comeback. This is not a case of a potential 1-5 scoreline where we look back and say, oh, you know, maybe a few of those rounds of 50-50 could have gone the way of OUTLAST. It has not been that case.
They've beaten them pretty well.
No, yeah.
They've actually beaten them quite comprehensively, and I think that's actually the most disappointing thing for OUTLAST. You could be in this position, certainly so. There's a lot of matchups where you go to Skyscraper or Labs, I think really being the other one. And you kind of look at the scoreline, you're like, not sure if that's fair. Maybe, yeah, you're right. A couple of 50-50s go very much in a lopsided manner, but this is a total beatdown. OUTLAST have just looked incredibly unconvincing on their attack. Big thing for Circular Spheres now is to not now get over aggressive, start over peaking, start getting a little bit too careless with their spawn peaks. VIP single wall not reinforced, probably not a problem. Tertiary site now. So again, for Circular Spheres, it'll just kind of be that top floor hold, a bit of pressure in towards Geisha, keep an eye on makeup. Could go for the jump out there, Killerman. He's definitely known for that kind of play style, and he was able to execute it well in the previous round. If there's any kind of information on this balcony, be prepared. He could go for it.
Entire here to make a line with the Maverick, and Bailey will hold for a potential kill. Try and bait in the bandit of Killerman. Killerman is peeking into it.
Tell you what, that window was prepped. If all that Maverick was actually, blowtorching the wall, I thought maybe he could have gone back for that, but instead he tries to play the line directly, loses his life. Now 2-1 on the opening kill. Probably the first mistake of the half. Saved for the final round of the half by a Circular Spheres member. OUTLAST will punish.
Yeah, the overdrive there from Neptune, identifying somebody droning outside over towards delivery.
Oh, what a shot. My
wow.
God.
Not a favorable fight there from Ned from the low ground on the rappel, but he wins it out. Elsewhere, Neptune finally does find at least one here for Circular Spheres, but
just
Jacob
gonna hit
also
sight.
falls.
They're just hitting sight here. I think they want this to be over as quick as possible. Relay's getting kitchen control. Yes, there might be still a couple up above for Circular Spheres. In this case, there isn't. We know that. So it's Sushi and Restaurant now into pantry for Neptune. On the Solus, and lovely back push. And catches out Bailey from behind on the flank. Creates a 2v2, but more importantly, kit control now established for Circular Spheres. Guys, with 60 seconds left, it now becomes a recovery mission for Outlast.
Not sure where the plant coverage was there from Outlast.
Wow.
Big mistake. 1 versus 1.
So much time still remaining. Ned inside a kitchen, swings it. Save will win it. This one's over. It might not be 7-0, but you may as well put a line through this one. Circular Sphere, so they will get a tick. They will get a check mark from their performance in that half. 6-0. So many question marks of this Outlast Gaming roster for the first time this stage, under the pump, under pressure, and they just cannot live up to the moment. This was a very winnable round. You got the first 2 kills in quite strange circumstances. Up 4 versus 2, not for the first time in this half either, guys. So the issue for Outlast is 2 attacking rounds would have been probably good enough. And in 2 rounds where they had a significant advantage, they squander it.
Nice. Good job.
Good shit, wait.
I'm really confused as to how Neptune, who has been playing incredibly well tonight, was able to even sneak into that position. That was essentially what broke down that entire attack from Outlast.
Yeah, saved 8-1, Neptune 9-2. They've been the absolute catalyst for why Circular Spheres have played well in this match, and all credit to them, but also just as a team. Circular Spheres just look probably like the Circular Spheres we expect from, well, what we hoped, what we see in Playday 2 and Playday 3 that they didn't play like, where they got 7-0, they gave up a big lead. I'm sure they would have been very disappointed with their performance yesterday. They should have closed out against Supernova. They did not. They've rebounded well today.
How good is this for the league, though?
It's great.
1st versus 7th, and we're likely to see a 7-0 in favor of the underdog. That's pretty insane.
What's the opposite of a Farmers League?
The flip-flop league, as we... I think we coined that term last night.
Yeah. That's good, though. You're right. I agree wholeheartedly. I think there's nothing worse than when you see these 7-0s, but usually it's 1st versus 7th, and 1st has the 7. This one might not be 7-0, though, as we do go to, of course, defense for Outlast.
And I think it humbles Outlast a little bit.
Oh, absolutely.
And just reminds them that...
Oh, they've been incredibly humbled from this game, though.
Yeah.
2 ways about it, as ACOG will lose his life to saved. I think just about 90, maybe 80% of the opening kills have gone the way of Circular Spheres. Now even into the second half, Killer Man, good entry. Gets rid of Bailey. Bailey has just been non-existent in this match. He hasn't existed whatsoever. And in the end, a 5 versus 3 for CS. I don't imagine that they're going to throw this one away shortly. Although, Gentai does get one on to Killer Man. 3 versus 4.
Yeah, Outlast only winning the opening duel twice in this match. Funnily enough, both on the tertiary sites, which they were unable to convert, proving very costly in this match.
It's a 1v3 for Ned.
I think this game's over.
I think this one might be. No one expected 7-0 territory in this matchup, on this map, with these 2 teams, but it is now formulating. Although no longer a 1v3 with the revival, although it hasn't actually been picked up. It's just Calamity. A mess all around for Outlast Gaming, but for Circular Spheres, they find themselves out of that drain from yesterday and suddenly into the top 4.
They better hope that I don't predict them again throughout this stage, because I may be the one that has cursed them. Good bounce back from Circular Spheres. They've really had to tough it out in the opening stages here of the second half of the year, but it feels like they're slowly starting to piece it together, and taking down first place in such a comprehensive fashion is one hell of a statement, and again, just sends shockwaves throughout the rest of the league.
Maybe you are just like the Circular Spheres curse, guys. When you predict them, they lose all hope. But when you don't predict them, when no one predicted them, quite literally, I don't think anyone did outside of maybe production that usually goes for the underdog, they stand tall. 7-0, I can tell you, no one expected that one. Isn't that right, Rob?
Too right you are, Harry. A 7-0, that's quite circular if you ask me, Vinny. Not impressed.
I don't know, what happened? We spoke before the game. We were like, they can't win attacks. They're 4-21, and then they won 6 in a row.
4-21, Vinny. That is what their attack rate was. I mean, how is that even? How do you go from 20% and then? Yeah. Anyway, let's start to deep dive this one, Dev. Interestingly enough, we're kind of seeing, I guess, the fruition of the first couple of play days, the adrenaline, is it wearing off?
I don't know, man. I at this point, seriously, with Circular Spheres, like, how do you describe this team? This is the 7th 7-0 these guys have been involved in this year.
What?
About half of them have been in their favor, and about half of them haven't been in their favor. Like, literally, you flip that coin, and I reckon you'd have a better chance of predicting a Circular Spheres win or loss compared to actually using your brain and looking at their gameplay. Like, whichever Circular Spheres turns up on the day, you just have no idea.
Yep.
Very talented players. Sometimes they just look shocking. Sometimes they look like they don't know what they're doing. Yesterday, they look terrible. Today, they look like they're just having the time of their life.
Yeah.
And I don't even know how to describe what I'm looking at in the game, because when they play well, you're like, oh, yeah, they're playing well. The players are confident. They're being patient when they need to be patient. They're seeing the gaps. They're pushing. And when they're not playing well, they're just not. I don't know how to describe it.
So let me just let me sum up the dev Marta waffle there.
Please.
Sometimes maybe good,
Sometimes maybe
shit. That's just the way it works. Let's bring in Japer for an interview, an interesting one, no doubt about it. Japer, obviously you've just, I got the comms, you were listening for probably the last 30, 40 seconds there. I don't need to speak for it. I think it speaks for itself. You've had an average start to the league, but what is this? Like, how do we go from the start that we've had to a 7-0 against the team that hasn't dropped a map?
Well, I think average would be very generous, to be honest. I'd more think pathetic would be a better term, but anyway, well, it's obviously a big change bringing 3 new players into our roster. I mean, 3 people leave, 3 new people in. Lot of change, new things to adapt to, sure you guys are well familiar. So I guess it's kind of seeing what works for us, experimenting. We haven't had a lot of time to practice with these new players. So yeah, very much been experimenting. And I think today we've kind of, found a style that's, obviously seemed to work a bit better. And so very happy with the result today.
Yeah. I think it, like, just to be honest, we're used to it on the broadcast because we've had to integrate Vinny and it's been tough. Vinny, anything from you, mate?
I mean, we've sort of harped on a fair bit about Killerman this stage, and unfortunately his woes in the entry department. He obviously had a much better game today. Is his sort of mission during the rounds to sort of go out and be aggressive and try get entries? And how was that sort of formed part of your game plan? I mean, we were kind of trialing him on that, obviously the first few games, and it wasn't really going as what we had wanted. So today we kind of, just put him more into like a role that, he's comfortable and played in the past, and, as a result have been a lot better.
Yeah, man, I wanted to ask a little bit more detail about the roster changes you guys made. Obviously, the old Circular Spheres, you guys have been playing together for ages. I mean, you'd had a little bit of change here and there, but now you brought in Killerman, Saved, and Neptune, all of which are very established players in the region, have played many times before, particularly Neptune, who's kind of been in and out for years now. What did you think coming into this new roster? Like, what were your expectations? Did you think you would be a better team than you used to be? Do you think you would be a worse team? And how has it actually panned out, you reckon?
I still think we're a very good team. Like, once we iron out all these little things, that will definitely be a top contender. Just obviously a terrible start, but happens when you've got more than half your team new. In terms of your question, I guess, pretty different, but obviously it would turn out alright, I think.
Now, one question I posed yesterday when we were just having a look at the roster is leadership roles and kind of who's taking over the charge in the server itself. Obviously, you probably have some of them. I would say it'd be between you and Saved have the most experience on this roster consistently, at the very least at Tier 1. Who is taking the leadership here?
We don't really have a set IGL. It's kind of a lot of shot calling on what we see. I'd say, like, myself and Physics would be quite vocal, but everyone really talks except for Saved. He just shoots, and that's completely fine. That's what I've got him here for. But yeah.
No, that's fair enough. Look, we'll give you the floor here as we usually do. JP, anything you'd like to say?
Well, shout out to everyone who's watching. Shout out to you guys. Everyone who's believing us. Thanks. Been a terrible start, but we'll sure turn it around.
Things always turn around, mate. Look at Vinny.
Absolutely.
We'll catch you later. We'll catch you later, mate.
Cheers, guys.
I like it because players get to jump in on the action as well.
Yeah,
it's not
it's
just me
awesome.
bullying Vinny.
I thought once I joined the couch that would stop, but it's been
Oh, no,
really-
it's been
That was very
non-stop.
naive of you, mate.
I actually think it has gotten worse.
It has.
It has somehow
It
gotten
genuinely
worse.
has.
Well, I mean, you got to realize we went from talking to you once a stage to once a night, so you know that's just how it works.
Just thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
I didn't win enough to get bullied.
Yeah,
enough.
yeah. I think the last stage probably summed up exactly what we were expecting. Dev, obviously, just an absolute stomping across the board from Circular Spheres.
Yeah, funny little tidbit. If your headshot percentage is high, it probably means you haven't got many kills. And so that's the case with OUTLAST here, the only stat that they actually win out on there when it comes to the individual performances. Yeah, CS showed up to play. If anything, I was just a little surprised at how, I don't know if nervous is the right word, but shy Japer seemed in his interview. Like, that was not the interview of a guy who had just won 7-0. That was the interview of a guy who was just thinking about how much they got destroyed in their first 3 play days.
Yeah, I think yeah, it can kind of become like that. Hey, I mean, 3 play days in a row of really like sort of mediocre results. I think he called them pathetic, which is
That's tough.
it is tough, especially considering yesterday they ended up losing 8-7 in overtime. So there's definitely some positives to draw out of their stage so far. And obviously this is a massive stepping stone for them. OUTLAST were on top of the table before that match. I think they still technically are, but that's probably not going to be the case after today once the GG Chiefs games go through.
True, and speaking of Chiefs, like just to give CS a little moment of credit here, like they're the only team that's taken points away from Chiefs so far, and that was in their opening play day. They pushed them to OT. Yeah, they ended up getting 7-0'd by Antic. Yeah, they lost in overtime to Supernova, but I think once you look holistically, it's actually like one team that they probably should have lost to, 2 teams they probably could have beat, and now they've really smashed OUTLAST, who were potentially going to beat them, and certainly after the results of this stage, we had certainly thought they would. So I don't think Circular Spheres should beat themselves up too much. A lot of stage left to go.
No, we do that for them. But actually, I don't think I really looked too much into the Circular Sphere storyline. I kind of just wrote off that they were at the bottom of the board 2 points, but it is 100% right. I mean, outside of your second matchup, I do think that it was there for the taking for Circular Spheres in 2 different occasions. This time, they were given the opportunity. OUTLAST, they were humbled in their game yesterday, and boy, this is, I don't know, what do you even call this video? Is there
Yeah.
how do you put it? It's not humbling, is it? It's a bit of trashing.
Thanos is gone.
He's gone back on the other side. Well, it is time for us to go to a short break, but on the other side, Supernova take on Prodigy. Not go anywhere.
Activating the diffuser. Attack. Attackers recovered the diffuser. Attackers have located a bomb. Attackers have dropped the bomb. Attackers have dropped the bomb. Attackers have